some more bars, please. No bars.
It's already top sheet. Yeah, it's been distributed. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the May 12th, 2026 workshop. We're excited to have you here today for this discussion on the strategic plan. This is going to set the roadmap for what we do over the next 5 years, and it's a very, very, very important document. With that, I'm going to ask the city clerk to call for the roll.
Councilmember Chavez. Present. Deputy Mayor Fernandez. Here. Councilmember Inzunza.
I'm here.
Councilmember Preciado.
Here.
And Mayor McCann.
Present. And I'm going to ask Courtney Chase to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I want to welcome Kimberly Garrett and Summer Curley, and they're going to be giving the presentation. Here is the structure of the game plan we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to have them do the presentation. We're going to hopefully, we've seen the presentation before. We'd like to try to save the questions for later, obviously, unless there's a really important clarification question during the presentation, but we want to be respectful to their presentation. Then we're going to move then to public comments because we want to hear what the public has. So much of this information and how we've designed this strategic plan has been input from our community on the surveys and how we connect with our community. And then we'll go ahead and move to council discussion and feedback. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and recognize our city manager for any comments, and then we'll have Kimberly and Summer come up for a presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Courtney Chase, your Deputy City Manager. As you mentioned, we have Summer Curley and Kimberly Garrett here from the Center for Organization Effectiveness. This document is a compilation of both your feedback, feedback from the public via survey, and a number of in-person meetings. I think we even had a bike coalition of kids show up to one of the rec centers and deliver a letter for this. So the community engagement was really wonderful. So with that, I'll have them come up and start our presentation. Thank you.
Again, welcome Kimberly and Summer, and the floor is yours.
I am really excited to return to continue the conversation with regards to the strategic plan, and we'll go right into it. As you recall, this was the timeline that we have been managing throughout the course. It's everything from the initial project planning to data analysis, and then, of course, plan development, and now bringing that in front of you for discussion. So this plan is built on a couple of things. It's a clear framework for the future. As any good strategic plan will do, this is for 2026 to 2031, and it establishes really a clear framework for you to guide on how the city sets its goals. And so as you see in the first graph there, the priorities, and then allocates resources to measuring progress. On the second part of this slide, you'll see at its core, the strategic plan really is designed to be a decision-making tool. It's a compass, if you will. And so you'll see the transparency and accountability being key and critical to making sure that there is long-term resilience for the plan itself. This plan, it's your plan, is both intentionally aspirational and practical. What this plan does is you see in these four buckets here. It establishes the shared framework for setting the priorities and making the decisions, as I mentioned a moment ago, but then also balancing long-term vision with near-term operational realities. Third, provides transparency around the goals, the progress, and performance. And then finally, reflects the City Council's direction and community values. So, the city today. Chula Vista, as you know, is a dynamic, defined by its diversity, scale, and regional connection city. It's home to residents from many cultures and backgrounds, as well as generations, and the city continues to experience population growth, development pressure, and increasing demands for public services and infrastructure. This strategic plan acknowledges the realities while building on your city's strengths. The mission statement, as we've discussed prior, it was important to review the mission statement to make sure that it was inclusive and it really hit all the key elements that Chula Vista is today. So as you see here, it's dedicated to cultivating an inclusive and vibrant community where residents, businesses, employees, and visitors feel a true sense of belonging. Additionally, we deliver innovative, exceptional public services that promote safety, providing a strong sense of community, economic opportunities, and enhanced quality of life for all. This mission, vision, and values continues on with the vision for Chula Vista as a safe, thriving, and inclusive city, recognized for its innovation, economic vitality, and exceptional quality of life, fostering community pride, sustainable growth, and creating a destination where people and businesses flourish for generations to come. And then your values, you see them here. There's 6: inclusivity, community, innovation, integrity, stewardship, and excellence. And you'll see in each one of these, there's a through line, if you will, that talks to creating an authentic sense of belonging by welcoming diverse perspectives and removing barriers to participation. You'll see that in the community, building trust is important and shared responsibility through collaboration, partnership, and the civic engagement. Innovation, and we heard a lot about this one, encouraging creativity, learning, and continuous improvement to adapt to change and better serve the community. Integrity, acting with honesty, transparency, and accountability in all actions and decisions. Stewardship, managing public resources responsibly and sustainably to support long-term community benefit. And then finally, of course, excellence, holding these high standards and taking pride in delivering high-quality public service. The community impact, the voices really mattered in this, as the mayor alluded to a moment ago. The community input was a foundational element of this strategic plan. From the outset, that was important and critical, that we heard the voices in different areas, and you'll see here some of it that looked like. We had 4 direct workshops, and many of you attended those, and it was great to be able to listen to exactly what the public needed to tell us from their own words. Business workshop to make sure that we were inclusive there, as well as a virtual workshop for those that weren't able to attend in person. We also engaged in a citywide survey, which was enormous in the data points that we received. These surveys, the workshops, the meetings, the online engagement, the residents, business employees, and community stakeholders' input all shared their insight into the issues that mattered to them most. And you'll see here the top community priorities. Belonging, the sense of belonging really did come through. Safety and recreation, infrastructure and housing, youth and seniors. That's inclusive of intergenerational engagement, all age inclusion, we heard that so much, and the well-being of these multi-generations for every type of generation. And then finally, transparency and accountability were the most biggest and strongest priorities that we heard. Now turn a little bit here to the structure of the plan itself. This was designed to establish the city's long-term direction. It does not replace departmental work plans or budgets or any of those things. It is really designed, as you can see here, the tent pole meaning that mission, vision, and values underneath the 5-year strategic plan, which is really the stalwart. And then you see each one of the years and how it will be depicted as we move forward from year over year with the progress. Now, here we go. The strategic plan is organized around 4 strategic goals. These goals that reflect community priorities, city council direction, and organizational responsibilities. Together, these goals guide how the city focuses resources, advances initiatives, and measures success. And you can see the pillars right there in the graph itself. And you'll see this graph repeated because this is really the stalwart of the strategic goal plan. So let's dive in. So community infrastructure. This is to build and maintain the physical systems that support daily life and future growth. So why is this important? Why does this matter? As Chula Vista continues to grow and evolve, your infrastructure systems must be maintained, modernized, and of course expanded. This approach will be strategic, fiscally responsible, and equitable. Additionally, this proactive investment will help protect public assets, reduce long-term costs, and support safe, reliable, and accessible infrastructure across all neighborhoods. So the community infrastructure, the plan itself, it's going to be built on these pillars here that you see by building and maintaining the physical systems that support daily life and future growth. You'll see them there. Infrastructure maintenance and modernization. Housing affordability and stability. Transportation, mobility, and accessibility. Climate resilience and sustainability, and of course, balanced investment across neighborhoods. Goal 1 will continue on with major initiatives. These are not all of them. You can refer back to your strategic plan to get every piece of those, but we wanted to highlight the most critical or the most interesting that we could bring out in this slide here. You'll see a lot of plan work being done. Completion of the police department facilities master plan that includes evaluation of potential police. Conduct park master planning and feasibility studies to assess opportunities for your sports field lighting and artificial turf to expand recreational access. Expand mobility options for older adults, including evaluation of senior transit pass programs. Number 4, complete fire department master plan, the strategic plan, community risk assessments, lots of plan work, standards of cover, bottom-up reviews, and leadership succession plan. And then finally, of course, developing a public works master plan that establishes a long-term vision for infrastructure, sustainability, and service delivery. Future opportunities. Now, these are opportunities that we certainly have heard. They're important and critical. And so we wanted to make sure that we add those on and recognize that those also have our attention. And you see these 3 here: complete street sidewalks assessment and project to enhance safety, accessibility, and connectivity. Fleet electrification to reduce emissions, support sustainability goals, modernize your city operations, and then, of course, develop facility maintenance plan to ensure longevity of all city-owned facilities. Goal 2 is quality of life and safety. So why is this important? Well, it fosters a safe and healthy and connected community where everyone can thrive. And so this goes on to talk about safety, health, and well-being are foundational to the community trust and quality of life. Reliable public safety services, effective emergency preparedness, and opportunities for connection and belonging contribute to a city where people feel supportive and secure. As Chula Vista continues to grow and diversify, maintaining quality of life requires approaches that are community-centered, proactive, and responsive to the evolving needs. You'll see here the plan itself. Each one of these I just highlighted: community-centered public safety, emergency preparedness and response, and community well-being. But additionally, community connection and cultural engagement, youth development and senior services, and of course, animal care services. In quality of life, the major initiatives here: strategize funding and program priorities for homeless services, administration of federal and local grants and collaboration with community-based organizations, train city staff to support Emergency Operations Center, develop funding plans for safety, vehicle replacement, and complete staffing study for fleet staff to maintain vehicle and equipment readiness. And then finally, number 5, review structure and scope of police department's community advisory committee for potential modification. And again, these are the major initiatives. There are others that you can check out on the strategic plan itself. And then finally, the future opportunities for quality of life and safety. Goal 2, you'll see public safety vehicle storage to protect assets, improve readiness, and support efficient emergency responses. Enhanced emergency evacuation shelters to improve capacity, safety, and support for residents during disasters. Expanded brush management and fire hazard mitigation to reduce wildfire risks and protect the community. Enhanced animal enrichment services to improve animal well-being, behavior outcomes, and adoption. So, the plan for goal 3, which is growth and economic vitality. Why this matters: strengthen economic vitality by expanding opportunities, encouraging innovation, and deepening regional collaboration. And why is this so important? Well, a strong, diverse economy is essential to opportunity, quality of life, and the city's long-term fiscal health. It just is. Chula Vista's strategic location, growing population, and both its expanding regional and binational connections well position the city to play an increasingly important regional role. So at the same time, the continued economic growth must translate into tangible benefits for people in neighborhoods across the city. So you'll see these under the plan. Business growth and economic diversification. We heard so much about workforce opportunity and talent development, small business and entrepreneurship, city policy and process, compliance, and of course, regional collaboration and innovation. You'll see here, there's quite a few here in the major initiatives, and there's even more. Advanced Broadway revitalization and cultural district efforts to stimulate investment, celebrate cultural assets, and strengthen neighborhood-based economic activity along the corridor. Pursue removal of the SR 125 toll burden on residents and businesses. Advance the university district to establish a binational, multi-institutional higher ed district, and then, of course, partner with businesses to sustain downtown revitalization, encourage private investment, and strengthen the economic vitality of the city's historic core. Number 5, continue implementation of the Chula Vista Bayfront development, supporting long-term economic activity, tourism, hospitality, and public access consistent with adopted plans and agreements. Our future opportunities under Goal 3 are implementation of the Economic Development Strategic Plan, build capacity for data-driven economic development, and enhance sports-oriented tourism. I might have advanced. One moment. Okay. All right. The plan. Goal 4, good governance. Advanced, transparent, accountable, and effective government services. So why is this so important? Well, effective governance is essential to public trust, fiscal responsibility, and the city's ability to deliver consistent results. These are clear communication, sound financial management, modern systems, and a prepared workforce support informed decision-making and accountability across the organization. As responsibilities and expectations evolve, strong governance enables the city to adapt, maintain high standards, and use of public resources responsibly. And here it is. You see the plan itself will center on transparent communication and engagement, technology and data-informed decision-making, workforce development and succession planning, and fiscal sustainability and stewardship. So you'll see here the major initiatives surrounding good governance, advanced, transparent, accountable, and effective government services. And you'll see these 5 bullets: develop and launch a new city website to improve accessibility, usability, and public access to services, information, and digital resources. 2, develop an internal audit program and council policy to guide risk-based audits and strengthen governance, accountability, and organizational performance. Number 3, enhance long-term financial planning and fiscal management of all city funds. Conduct a comprehensive data-driven staffing and organizational capacity study to evaluate current and future workforce needs across all city departments. And then, of course, number 5, develop and implement a citywide governance program for the use of artificial intelligence, emerging technologies that include policies, standards, and oversight. Goal 4, the future opportunities: expanded digital service delivery and self-service platforms, enhance enterprise data integrations and analytic tools, enhanced workforce development and leadership training programs, and then implement a data-driven staffing plan aligned with service demands, operational needs, and long-term financial capacity. So, we'll take a breath for a second. That's a lot. There's really robust goals, really robust, full of lots of information. And as we stated, a lot of that was informed by multiple factions. So here, once you get goals, you know what's very next. You've got to think about, how do you know you're doing well? What does good look like? So when we think about that, measuring progress keeps this strategic plan accountable, transparent, and results-focused. One of the last things you ever want is all this work that's been done is for it to languish and sit in a drawer somewhere. It has to become an active and live plan. And so in doing so, tracking becomes really critical. And so the tracking methodologies that will be utilized, each strategic goal that you just saw will be assessed using a limited set of high-level key performance indicators, KPIs, if you will, aligned with the plan's priorities, measurements, so that way we can continue to hold ourselves and others accountable. So from plan to action, this is the implementation cycle we're in right now. We're getting that plan off and running, and then it goes into several different areas, whether it's through alignment and action, measurement, continuous flow of measurement, and then adapt. This strategic plan guides how the city of Chula Vista will translate its long-term priorities into day-to-day actions. Departments will identify specific actions, timelines, and resource needs that support the plan's major initiatives that you just saw while continuing to deliver core services. This aligned approach keeps the strategic plan, it remains an active decision-making tool rather than a static document. Next steps. So the strategic plan comes to life. It's a living, agile roadmap. It really is. This plan provides a shared path forward while remaining flexible enough to adapt to future shifts, emerging needs, and new project pipelines. Clear measurement and accountability next steps will focus on defining meaningful, achievable KPIs and implementing a transparent monitoring tool to track progress, address obstacles, and then, of course, support informed decision-making. Inclusive and community-driven, ongoing integration of feedback from tonight's presentation will strengthen the final plan, ensuring it reflects collective ideas and delivers a strategy built for and by all of Chula Vista. So this is the beginning. It really is. This plan reflects the voices and the values and aspirations of your community. The city thanks its residents, business partners, and staff for its really thoughtful engagement and ongoing commitment to shaping the future of Chula Vista.
So that is the end of the formal presentation.
Thank you very much. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and, Madam Clerk, can you please call the first speaker from the public?
Yes, the first speaker this evening is Robert. Following Robert will be Greg Martinez and then Yvette Garcia.
Hello, everybody. City Council workshop. Kind of interesting, right? Is it a regular workshop or a special workshop? Or is it a city meeting? You know, the more you can be clear about what this is, right, on the city side, the more that I can then transparently say what it is. So, you know, canceling the city meeting, then posting it that we're having a canceled city meeting. There were some hiccups today. Let's just leave it at that, right? You know, as far as I know, I went to a couple of these meetings. I streamed them, I showed the audience, and I think it would serve the purpose of the community to find out what type of outreach we actually got from it as like a KPI, if you will use that term, to judge how good we're doing at the outreach. And I know a lot of commissioners, boards, committee members throughout the city, just as we bring a presentation like the budget to each of the boards and then they all kind of see it all, it would have been nice to see how this would have went in front of the boards and got more attention for the people that we have at the highest levels, right? So once again, I can appreciate the work, you know, done to get this information. And this is probably just a reminder at this point, but the police department have like a public dashboard that tracks these things. And as a transparency measure for this implementation, we should see some sort of dashboard that's going to visibly show residents, citizens, everybody what's going on. Same with Public Works, and other departments use these public dashboards to keep us in the know. I did see a different presentation, so the one that we had provided today, I hope gets uploaded and then that can be shared too. But there is a lot more to the information that they provided. One of the sentences I think was like cut off where it was supposed to say like, look into a potential police station in the east, but it was missing from up there. So, you know, like I said, I'm just paying attention to these little things and want the community to know it's not just these slides, to go look at the paper and read up on every part of it. You know, I think we're on the right track with the transparency and accountability to the public and making sure they're all notified and seeing things. But I just would like to hear the council members talk about how they think it went or what they think is happening from this outcome. Like, I haven't heard plans. I've heard ideas like safety or all whatever it is. I see some of them, but I'd just like to hear from council members and maybe even the mayor. So thank you.
The next speaker is Greg Martinez, followed by Yvette Garcia, followed by Stephen Gaspar.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Johnson, this is a special city council workshop.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council and everybody else on the dais, and thank you for that great presentation. I really enjoyed it. My name's Greg Martinez, and I live in District 1 in Rolling Hills Ranch. As you discussed the city strategic plan tonight, I want to speak about the importance of, as you mentioned, balanced investment across all neighborhoods in Chula Vista. You know, for too long, I think many residents in East Chula Vista, where I live, we feel a little bit overlooked. Because I think we're the only district in the city that doesn't really have a true public civic building where people can meet. I think in District 3 there's a library. I don't think in District 1 we have anything like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. And we do have one police station. I know we have a lot of parks, so that's right. But you know, you also have to realize that we probably pay a higher maybe percentage of taxes than a lot of other districts. And so yeah, other districts have libraries, the senior centers, community centers. So I would like you to respectfully consider District 1, you know, when it comes to your long-term strategic planning. So public safety is also part of balanced investment, and we do need a stronger police presence on the east side of the city. District 1 would be a great location for that. Our residents are becoming increasingly concerned about, you know, these little kids on their bikes, their e-bikes, but, you know, they're kind of becoming a gang, right? And, you know, when you have that, you know, when you have kids that are in a gang, you know, a lot of times you don't know the parents might be in a gang. Where do they get this behavior, right? I go to other cities, people are riding e-bikes peacefully, right, by the beach in singles. They're not ganging up on you. And one of them actually called me the N-word. So these kids are not, you know, they might like be little 16-year-old kids, but they mean business. So you have to be careful. It's a security issue. Let's not let it get out of hand. I'm not convinced you really need to spend over $400,000 on a study, but that has been commissioned. It seems like we should have all that information in terms of numbers of calls per district, and we could use AI and modern tools to be able to figure out, is it really going to be worth it, you know, to serve the residents who, as I say, probably pay a disproportionate amount of taxes per person. Also, I know you mentioned the concept of a binational region, and that's kind of become a buzzword around here, right? And you know, any international business relationship we should have should be balanced, and it should clearly benefit both sides. I think the relationship we have with Mexico is very one-sided. In this jet age, we're no longer limited geographically in who we partner with economically, and we should pursue relationships that benefit us as well and not just base them on convenience, politics, or tribalism. A visible police presence combined with real community investment and balanced strategy sends a message that every neighborhood matters and public safety and quality of life are priorities for everyone and not just certain parts of the city. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Yvette Garcia, followed by Stephen Gaspar.
All right, hello everybody. Hello City Council. My name is Yvette Garcia, Chula Vista resident. Just wanted to make some comments on a few items that you mentioned, and I enjoyed your presentation as well, really great information. So on your goal 1 for community infrastructure, I just wanted to mention we do need more police personnel. My family owns a small convenience store here in Chula Vista, and we had an incident about a month ago now, and we had a drunk punch one of our employees in the face. We called the Chula Vista Police Department. They did not show up. My brother was there at the store. He was there for the next 8 hours, 9 hours, and no police officers showed up, so which is mixed with quality of life. So I was suggesting maybe you guys could create a program with the younger schools to encourage enrollment to become police officers. I also wanted to mention we have a homeless problem. The big homeless problem is in downtown San Diego, but it's here in Chula Vista. And a great idea would be maybe a homeless rehab. I've heard about a homeless outreach program. However, I've dealt with a lot of homeless issues over the last couple years. So I'm not too sure what the homeless outreach program is, and I have yet to see them act when I've called for a homeless problem in Chula Vista. So maybe we could create a homeless rehab to help the sick people that are loitering around schools and businesses. Also, if we can make sure we're doing protection for fire brush, make sure, that we have some kind of plan. That way no homes are burned down like 2004. My family does live next to a canyon here in Chula Vista. If you guys remember the 2004 fires. Your goal 3 of growth and economic vitality, if we could try to make building fees less so builders can build more. Some of my friends are builders and they have mentioned to me that you guys are adding more fees to the building costs, so it's increasing costs for them to build. I encourage you all to make deals that are going to benefit the whole community, not just a selected few corporations or specific people. Goal 4 of your good governance, I suggest please create an audit for all companies that are requesting government money. So maybe you could do a pre-audit and a post-audit of where all that money is to be spent. Thank you for your time, and thank you so much.
Ms. Garcia? Ms. Garcia? I'm going to refer you back to our police chief back there because, again, I'd like to have you talk to him because our police officers are really good at responding, and I think you should talk to him about what potentially may have happened.
Okay,
Thank
awesome.
you.
Thank you for your time.
The final speaker registered under this item is Stephen Gaspar.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Stephen Gaspar, and I work with Kyer Builders. We design, build, and manage small to mid-sized rental communities across San Diego County, privately funded with local capital. We focus on serving middle-income families in the 80 to 120% AMI range. I'm here to encourage Council to consider working with staff to study a by-right policy for housing communities that meet objective design standards. This supports goal 1.2 in your strategic plan as you work to move from plan to action. San Diego, La Mesa, and National City have already adopted these tools. Escondido and the County of San Diego are actively exploring them. The foundation is already in place. Your code section 19.58.460 already establishes objective design standards, but they apply only to communities that include 20% low income set aside by state law. The opportunity is to extend this framework to more qualifying communities. The case is strongest west of the 805. According to CoStar, over the past 10 years, each side of the city has built about the same number of communities. East side communities average about 3 times the size, and east side rents run about $600 a month higher, or about 20% higher. The west side is where the attainable rents live, even in new construction. By right is what help keeps them there. Our team has we've entered a new housing cycle. Rates are higher, capital is tighter, and communities that penciled 3 years ago do not pencil today. Predictability is the single most valuable thing a city can do to incentivize housing now and into the future. Our team has built 13 communities totaling 400 units in National City, with 2 more in planning totaling 114 units. None of those communities would have penciled under a discretionary process. The predictable nature of by right is what makes them work. Chula Vista is already one of the few San Diego County cities with the state's pro-housing designation, and I commend you all for that. This is a chance to build on it. I've submitted a detailed letter for the record, and I'd welcome a chance to meet with any of the council members or staff who are interested in learning more about our experience in other cities with by right policies. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That concludes the speakers registered on this item.
Madam Clerk, did we have any e-comments?
There was an email that was received and uploaded to the item and available online to the public and to the City Council.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and just give you some feedback, and I first want to thank you, Kimberly and Summer. I really appreciate this. I think this is the great start of a roadmap. Major initiatives, obviously, of the completing the build-out for Millennium. And before I go over some of the items, I just really like the term that this is aspirational but realistic. And I've seen many times people come, they put together this strategic plan, they go ahead and have all these dreams and ideas, and unfortunately, they don't have a realistic roadmap, and a lot of things that they may be wishing for are not realistic. And so I think that's a key point because we can definitely dream a lot, and I think we have a great vision of ideas of what we would like to do. But I want to make sure also that we can actually have them attainable and be realistic about it. So again, I love the major initiatives of the build-out for the Millennia Library. Looking forward to actually having that open later this year. To complete the Police Department Facilities Master Plan, including the evaluation of a potential police substation to improve service coverage and response times. I think we're large enough now, population-wise, to be able to go ahead and have that. As we know, I was talking with the chief for years on this, making sure that we could go ahead and have just regular city services and having a police presence enhanced by having a substation on the Eastern Territories. Conduct a master planning and feasibility studies and assess the opportunities for sports field lighting, artificial turf. I always tell people that we could double our sports fields in the city of Chula Vista and probably still not have enough fields. By adding the lighting so we can use them during the evening, and then also by having that artificial turf, decreases the maintenance and increases the longevity because we've seen many times when we have these great fields and then people use them. It's a great thing, but then they get so beat up that we have to take them offline for 6 months or a year to have them regrow and everything. And I think the artificial turf will increase the wear to be able to make sure that we have those sports fields and have access for a long period of time. I think the citywide lighting study is another study that's very, very critical. That's a huge public safety issue. I get people, especially in our older communities, they'll sit there and I'll go down there and talk to them and they say, look, we've got an entire street and we've got one street light. And we want to make sure that when people are wanting to go walk in the evening and people are out and about, that they have the lighting to be able to enjoy their walks as well as be safer. And potentially, if they are out and about, I think having those lights actually help other vehicles potentially see them. So it's a major safety issue. Complete the fire department master plan, strategic plan. As you know, we want to make sure that we're doing a great job at continuing to keep our community safe. I believe that we have one of the best police departments in the California and one of the best fire departments in California. And I think by planning, making sure that we're not only hiring the right people, but also strategically making sure that we have fire access in great locations. When I was on the council, we took 2 fire stations that sort of popped up And it was one of those things where we had one of the fire stations that was out in the middle of a suburban area, and the response times were always challenging because it was on a public, a residential street instead of in a major area where people could allow, or it could get on the roadways and respond quickly. So I know that our fire department has done a great job at looking at some of these factors because when you respond to a fire or a medical emergency, time matters, and an extra minute may be the difference between being able to help somebody and maybe having some bad things happen to that person. And then the Public Works Master Plan, we want to make sure that we're having the infrastructure and the stability and sustainability of the service delivery. I think it's a huge core city function to make sure that we're maintaining the roads and being able to keep up with everything that is going on. When you look at other cities, and I'm not going to name any other specific cities, but I always get a kick because I'll be driving through another city and it's like pothole. And, I'm sitting there with my friend who lives in that city going, and then when they come down to us, it's like, we have a really good public works that maintains our streets and roads in a quality manner. And that's what we need to do for the service of the customers, but to be cost effective, we need to be able to maintain the streets and roads on a consistent basis because if you allow these potholes and things to get worse, ultimately being able to repair them will cost you much more than these smaller repairs that we consistently do. On the future opportunities, I really appreciate the future opportunities. I want to say that one thing that we have for the infrastructure future opportunities that I would say, especially in our older communities and in the Montgomery area, which was annexed back in 1985, there's still a need for sidewalks and curbs and gutters and things like that. And I'd love to be able to as we had a really terrific plan in the early 2000s, we were able to use the community development block grant funding and then also SDG&E funds and be able to underground the power lines, build sidewalks, and it was highly successful. Because of some of those funds that dried up and the fee isn't being charged or isn't being provided by SDG&E anymore, the funding has become a little more challenging. But I do believe for the safety aspect of looking at some of these areas, we need to make sure that we have complete streets and have those assessments and looking for funding for new sidewalks in areas, because many times when I go out meeting the community or go walking, you'll have people in walkers who are walking, basically in the dirt. And if we were able to get them a sidewalk, they'd be in a much better, safer position. Going to the quality of life and safety, the key future opportunities that I think is really exciting is the Animal Services Master Plan and being able to modernize that. I know Cheryl Cox and Greg Cox for years, and I think as I was teasing with Courtney Chase over here, our Deputy City Manager, they've been working on being able to acquire some land to be able to modernize the current animal care facility. And we think it's probably been definitely over a decade, maybe even approaching two decades. But we're almost to the point of being able to work it out, acquire that land. When you go through the animal care facility, there's a lot of different things that we need to be able to upgrade and be able to improve on. I think when you look at it, it's a building that I think time has come to be upgraded, and that would be something. Also, I know that we own the Women's Club facility in the city of Chula Vista, and that has, it's a 100-year-old building, and it's been a staple of community events for 100+ years. I believe that we need to be able to revitalize that. One of the great things about that is if you go there, and if anybody ever gets a chance, go into the kitchen. And when you, I hear some of the women there laughing, and that's what'll happen. You'll laugh because it's, I think the oven there is older than me. And there's a lot of opportunity because if we can redo the kitchen, if we can upgrade the bathrooms, I think that would be a venue that people would want to be able to rent for quinceañeras, for birthdays, for weddings, for family reunions. When you're in there, it just feels so welcoming and inviting. But we need to be able to improve it. And the number one thing is we need to get a new kitchen for it, because I think if you have a working kitchen, you'll have people want to be able to go there and rent it. I think that's a major obstacle, and there's so many things that we can do there. So I would definitely put that as a future opportunity for infrastructure. In the idea of growth and economic vitality, I want to thank David Graham and his team. We are, as they talk about future opportunities, the implementation of the Economic Development Strategic Plan, we're hoping to look forward to seeing the draft version of that in June 16th. So I do think we're looking at that as not just a future opportunity, but a major initiative. And we need to be able to advance in providing good direction to be able to bring in new businesses and be able to make sure that we're a business-friendly city. On the goals of good governance, we have always talked about being a smart city, and having come from the high-tech industry, future opportunities, expanding digital services, delivery, self-service platforms, enhanced enterprise data integration and analytics, enhanced workforce development and leadership and training programs, implementation of data-driven staffing plan aligned with service demands, operational needs, and long-term financial stabilities. I think those are all future opportunities that are very, very worthy. I would definitely see if we can integrate the internet. I know when we talk about some of these things like digital services, I think we should specifically put the internet. There are so many times when I have people who want to put in a permit that many times they have to come all the way down here to the city, submit it, go all the way back, and then there's something that they need to change. We are technologically advanced enough, so we should be able to, on most things, be able to enter them online and be able to just click and submit. And then the other point that I think we should include here is put in artificial intelligence. I think that's a huge, huge opportunity. Many times when somebody has put in a permit, they sit there and they go, okay, I checked all the right boxes, and the applicant thinks that they're fine, and then what happens is that they get something back that says, oh, you have to do A, B, and C. And if we have artificial intelligence, when somebody submits their permit or their design, that potentially would be able to say, hey, you know what, you still need to put A, B, and C. And many people who are submitting the permitting would probably go, oh, okay, and then fill it in. So many times when you're submitting these permits, you're missing something. And then obviously the staff has to follow the rules and they kick it back to say, hey, you're missing A, B, and C. The artificial intelligence will help them be able to provide the sufficient information that is required, and then that would be less back and forth, which makes the customer happier, which will make them more efficient so you can get the permits, get the building in a faster, more expedited way. And it'll be helpful also to our planners and the people, our staff, looking at approving the permits, because they're going to say, you know what, I see everything. Oh, wow, we can do it. And I think that having done ride-alongs with the planners, I know that they love to, when they are able to say, yep, it's good, and give them that approval, they feel a sense of joy and feel that, hey, we've got this, and been very successful. So I think that would be another item that we would want to put in for future opportunities, is making sure that we're leveraging artificial intelligence to be able to get the permitting process and being able to help our customers and constituents have a better experience at the city. So thank you very much. I know that was long, but I wanted to make sure that this is a 5-year plan. I've read it. I think there's a lot of great things in here, and I want to make sure that when we put this plan together, it becomes a very efficient roadmap that will help our constituents and citizens have a higher quality of life and a better experience when they're dealing with the city. I will now go ahead and recognize the member from District 2.
Thank you, Mr. Let me get all my buttons here. See, I got it. So a couple of things. First and foremost, I think we need to write out a value that we will not do planning or processes or anything else on the back of a napkin. If we need a study, even if it sounds like it's an expensive study, I'm hoping that this strategic plan will rely on studies to make informed decisions. They're so critical. You can have an opinion, but if you use the data, which is a value that is really laid out, you're going to find that the data will drive good decisions, even if they may be counterintuitive or, God forbid, politically unpalatable. Another big important point that I want to stress is that I appreciate that this plan allows each of the departments to continue to do their master planning as envisioned. I don't think any strategic plan would set aside any of the normal processes associated with that. But I am excited about the economic development plan opportunity. I haven't seen one in this city. I don't know how many cities rely on them, but I'm hoping that it becomes a practice for us that as we look at economic development, that we have opportunities to renew our economic development goals. I've seen studies that look at, I remember in the recent period, there was a study that informed on the Cali Baja mega region that some people perceive as one-sided. I think there's a lack of information, a basic lack of information and literacy on what economic development can be, what international economic development is. And quite frankly, how fortunate we are to be situated in this location. I think countries, continents, wish they had this cross-border boundary that we have and that have the level of economic integration that we benefit from on a daily basis. If anyone does not understand it, they should get more information. Secondly, and thirdly, and fourthly, I'm going to focus on goal 3, and then I'm going to quiet down because I want to hear from my colleagues. On page 19 specifically, under the future opportunities, one of the things that I'm hoping we include in the language, and I'm sure this will emerge in the economic development plan, but I'm interested in identifying either geographic spaces or conceptual spaces that can be districts. And I'm interested in tourism districts, I'm interested in entertainment districts. I think in some ways these could be connected to some of the work we've done already this year to adopt our community benefits district. But I think this is going to be very important for us to do. And to that end, I wanted to offer a phrase or a sentence that I think might be helpful. I'm interested in to the extent that we can create focus areas, look at that, another buzzword, that align complementary business and industry clusters to support established and emerging economic development opportunities such as tourism for the Bayfront. Now, even though we have, what I call the Death Star in the positive sense, that's the Gaylord building. It has all the whistles, bells and whistles. It is incredible. We have a long way to go to flesh out and build out the potential of what is certainly a valuable asset, but a first step in that. And so I'm hoping that that is created. I do want to point out a couple of things that we need to be sensitive to. And I think I was meeting with some people this weekend, and we talked about what a city service is and how taxes and fees provide city services, and ultimately how those services and facilities are operated and provided to the public by our staff. And so the first future opportunity that you list is expanded digital service delivery and self-service platforms. And to the extent that those are viable, I would just want to make sure that everyone has language access, everyone has digital access, and more importantly, that those services that can only be provided by people, that we don't cut corners and start delivering these services without the people-to-people connection. I think it's an important value that we need to retain. I did note under infrastructure, which is closer to the front of the document, that there is a discussion of finalizing our ADA planning, and I think it's so critical that that be incorporated, and I'll tell you why. I recently interacted with a gentleman who is an advocate for those who are recovering from strokes. And one of the things that I was able to learn is the idea of having just, a linear pole that is about 3 feet high that can be used as a device to maintain balance and feel safe. And then he went one step further and indicated to me, and what if it had another bar closer to the ground, so those people who are vision impaired can use it to guide their steps through. I was dumbfounded, not because I was unaware that these facilities are available. I was dumbfounded that we don't have that at present in our planning, or I haven't seen it in our parks. I'm sure we can find areas where that is, but I'm very interested in making that happen. I do want to react to something that the mayor indicated on page 12 under 1.4, climate resilience and sustainability, and under major initiatives, the lighting and those kinds of things of improving sports fields are critical. But I would caution us into advancing too much on the artificial turf. Continuing science shows that it creates, it leaches into the ground. It impacts children as they play with it and get scraped. And so if the technology gets to the point where it becomes a safer product, but at this time, I've seen communities throughout the county, throughout the state, that are opting away from artificial turf, and I just noted it. And given that climate resiliency and sustainability are in that component, I would just encourage us. Frank, I hope I'm not bothering your ears back there with trying to get turf out of here. And the last comment I'll make is that I'm very happy that we will be measuring this. The only thing that never happens is that the things that do not happen are those things we don't measure. And if we measure many of these goals through the KPI process, I'm confident that 5 years from now, this plan that we hope to adopt as a council together will allow us to say we adopted a plan together, we're implementing the plan together, and the outcomes will be shown to be outcomes that we all brought together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to recognize the member from District 4.
All right, I want to begin by thanking everyone for all their input and the work that went into the strategic plan. Obviously, it gives us a framework where we want to go as a city for the next 5 years. And I appreciate that this document, it recognizes infrastructure, safety, economic vitality, and public trust, but also how they're all connected. One area I think especially important is the focus on safe corridors and a balanced investment across neighborhoods. When we talk about the quality of life, we're talking about the very real things that residents experience every day. Sidewalks that are missing, lighting that doesn't work, unsafe crossings, corridors where people don't feel comfortable walking at night. Safe and walkable neighborhoods are not just transportation issues, they're public safety issues, they're accessibility issues, and they become economic development issues, because when people can walk safely to schools and parks and businesses, that only makes the community more connected, and it makes our local businesses become even stronger. I also believe that this plan creates a real opportunity for us to modernize how we communicate progress to the public. I would agree with Mr. Johnson. I would strongly support the development of a public-facing dashboard that's tied directly to this strategic plan. Not something overly technical, something that is difficult to find on our page, something that's easy to access and that residents can actually use and understand. Imagine a resident being able to go online and see which sidewalk projects are complete, where lighting improvements are happening, what park projects are underway, and how quickly service requests are being addressed, or what economic development projects are moving forward in their neighborhood. That kind of transparency is what I'm interested in. It builds trust with the residents, and that can actually see what's happening in real time. It would also help us measure our outcomes and identify where we're falling behind, right? And most importantly, it just helps residents feel connected to the work that we're doing instead of feeling disconnected from City Hall. So I think this plan gives us not just the opportunity to set goals, but to make things very visible, very measurable, and then, of course, becoming more meaningful for everyday people. So thank you.
I will now recognize the member from District 1.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I want to thank staff for all the work that has gone into assembling this strategic plan that reflects the many different goals and values of our community. Chula Vista has been building more housing units of all kinds, more than any other city in the county. With that, we have built many public services such as parks, fire stations, and now the study of the potential East Side Police Station. It is our job as legislators and community leaders to anticipate these needs and plan for them in advance as we continue to grow. To that end, we must consider that the median home buyer in the U.S. is 59 years old, and that ensuring our residents are able to live and age with grace connected to our community is crucial. Chula Vista currently only has one senior center as well, and that is located in my council colleague's district. It's a really nice place. It's a really nice place, I agree. And the ability for seniors in the east side to be able to use transit on the east side to go to the senior center is very limited, as to many of them, let's say it's a 40-minute walk if they would like to go to the nearest transit stop. With that said, I would like to ask a question to be the timeline to see additional analysis. What would be the timeline to see additional analysis as to what our options are as a city to meet the need for our seniors on the east side? I guess that's a question for you, Courtney.
I will say, we do have it currently listed as one of our major initiatives to evaluate it, but I don't have a timeline offhand.
What happened? Oh,
Oh, can you hear me? Okay, is that better?
yes.
It is currently found under the major initiatives in section 1 for a senior center on the east side, evaluating that, but I do not have a timeline. I'll defer to the city manager.
I would just say, in terms of managing current workload, we do have the master plan work that's underway for Roar Park and then the police facility or the substation. And so just in terms of managing and giving everything the appropriate focus, it would be helpful if we could get through those 2 master plans before we dig into a senior facility planning process.
I completely agree. I mean, there's so much we're doing in Chula Vista. And this, I want to tie it into on the May 8th at the Sandac Board of Directors meeting last week. I voted along with my fellow board members to continue funding the Youth Opportunity Pass that allows all residents 18 and under to ride transit on MTS or NCTD for free anywhere in the county. With what I guess my question is also regarding transit, and I think we already had this discussion of what options is the city exploring to expand transportation opportunities to our senior, that I know we're already touching into this in our master plan and our moving forward. So I guess my question is there any possibility of working with MTS to create a senior transit pass in the near future for our Chula Vista residents? And again, I don't expect you to have an answer, maybe just a ballpark figure of what we're thinking regarding senior transportation within our city.
That is also a current council referral. We do have it listed in our major initiatives. I don't know that we have a timeline, but we have heard council and your referral for that in the past. So that's why we have incorporated those into our major initiatives to validate them and show those are the things out there that staff are working towards either grant funding for or identifying funds for going forward. And that's what we hope this plan will do. They've laid out the priorities that the council has set. So as things become available, it's something that they're continuously looking for funding and options on.
I mean, it's not just crucial, but it's so important that we have public transportation, city transportation for our elderly community, and to get to and from their doctor's appointments, visiting family, and all their needs tended to. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate it seeing it. I would appreciate it maybe in a future meeting to get some timelines on the books. And, you know, I continue to hear from residents that use some of our most used parks, like Mackenzie Creek, that, as I mentioned the last council meeting, they want to see more parking, and if there could be an adjustment of hours for parks as well, they have been requesting that are regularly used all the way up to closing of the park. So I would love to see an incorporation to any current plan to study the level of use of our existing parks, facilities, and to prioritize improvements on our most impacted facilities, as in my District 1. Our District 1 is Mackenzie Park right now, with all the pickleballers that, you know, they're national champions. So if we can consider additional parking and extended hours, I would deeply appreciate it. Thank you with that.
I will now recognize the member from District 3.
I want to thank all our staff. Everyone look back in the corner of the room, all our department heads. And help everyone acknowledge that the work that actually goes into these type of studies and the work that's implemented. I think I casually made a remark to a news reporter about a couple weeks ago when we're talking about all the work that's done in the city. And I said, you know, if entire council took a 6-month trip to Tahiti, the city would still operate without us, because 95% of the work is done without us. We're the idea people. We implement ideas, we make council referrals based on constituent reports or what's important to our residents and our neighborhoods. That's our responsibility. But all the work we're talking about here, 95% of this work is done by our staff. And it's just not showing up at, ribbon cuttings and shovels in the ground. That's not how a city really operates. That's all the glitz and the glam, what I call the bells and whistles. But the nuts and bolts relies within our staff. The city manager, public works, police officers, our firefighters, parks and recreation, they do all the heavy lifting. So when we're talking about ball fields and lighting in Max Field and Park View, it's Councilmember Fernandez and I meeting with the president and the board and the parent volunteers, not just one time, not just at the opening day first pitch. It's getting with them and talking with them and having coffee multiple times. That's what it takes. When Councilman Fernandez saw the empty lot on 4th Avenue, it wasn't just, showing up and having things run easy. As he met religiously several times with Parks and Rec and Public Works and the city manager's office to have it dedicated and built to serve that community. And now we're going to have shovels in the ground in the near future for Roy Franzine Park. That's how it happens. When I got on the council, I was wondering, because I had spoken to about 29,000 people when I walked door to door, is number one thing they said is, we need a police station in East Chula Vista. And I think in my first 2 months, I said, has anybody in the council, previous mayors, previous council, the last 5, 10, 15 years ever asked for a feasibility study? The answer was no. No one's ever made an effort. Here we are a year later, feasibility study was passed and it was funded. And I appreciate all the council and all of the staff's work. And by November this year, that feasibility study will be completed. Now, it is premature for anyone to say, any specific location. We shouldn't be discussing those things, because we want to make sure that this firm that we've hired is going to come back with analytical data, with response time, police needs, and involve our police. Same thing with the master plan in Roar Park. A lot of us heard the hoopla about the, removing the horse corral at Roar Park. We're a year to 2 away from that. We haven't even discussed that master plan. There's so many variations of it. So I want the public to understand how this really works, how it really works in planning things out and making referrals to the city manager and public works so they can do the real work and get in the trenches where they're burning the midnight candles, getting things done. A lot of us have heard the news. It was tragic news. There was 2 officers involved, 2 different nights. I think it was 2 nights back to back, or 2 nights in 3 days. 2 officers were injured on Olympic Parkway in my district, I think a block away. One on Olympic in La Media, maybe one on Olympic in Heritage or Santa Venetia. And that scares us. And when you hear a council or anyone discussing about reconfiguring the streets, they've been working on it. I was just briefed 2 weeks ago. We are working on those things. The work that's already been done on Telegraph Canyon Road, Otay Lakes Road, and Olympic Parkway, our staff is working. Our engineers, public works, our city manager's office is working on those things. So I really am speaking tonight because I really want the gallery, everyone in the audience, to really appreciate the work that city staff puts into this, because it is a combination of 95% of work that they do, that they're experienced and educated in implementing, understanding the needs of the city, and us as a council making referrals, making suggestions, and actually taking action, making motions, seconding motions to get these things passed. That's how government should work. So I just want to really thank all of you for being here, for participating, everyone giving their input. And I really want to thank our city manager, Tiffany Allen, and all the staff back there for all your diligent work. to move forward with a lot of these projects and all the wonderful ideas that my colleagues brought up. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate all our council colleagues, appreciate staff, and appreciate the public for coming and listening about this. I'm going to go ahead then and thank you very much for Kimberly and Summer. Did you have any closing comments? Okay, well, that sounds great. This is a workshop, so essentially this is giving direction to staff, showing the priorities that the council and the community have, providing that input, and then be able to allow you guys to go back, update the master plan, and come back for adoption in the future. With that, I'm going to go ahead and convene the meeting, and thank you very much for everybody for participating. Thank you.